to plant the flag, if you will. Plant the flag and saying that to all of those who believe in what the Republican Party believes in, the Republican Party, which is now the conservative party in this country, for all of those who believe in the values of our party, in the values in our platform, the ones that were etched in there by Ronald Wilson Reagan, as Glenn referred to. We need somebody out there planting that flag and articulating that vision. Just a couple of days ago, I was at the Jelly Belly Jelly Bean Factory, which was made famous, of course, by Ronald Reagan. And I went there and articulated, the vision of the Reagan three-legged stool and how important it is for us to have a candidate that goes out and can focus the American public's attention on what America not just can be, but who we are. What made us great? People say, well, what made Reagan such a great leader? Because Reagan reminded us who we are. Not just each one of us, but collectively what America stood for. That phrase that he used to use, that we felt good about ourselves, good about our country, that shining city on the hill. It's a biblical reference for sure, but it really is America. There's something special about our country that we're not feeling today. We're not feeling because we have a president who doesn't share that feeling. He gives speeches talking about all the problems in America, and not just today, but in the past. Winston Churchill famously said, the debate is not about the future. The debate is about the past. But what Churchill was talking about was how we view history, how we view America is going to determine what the course of America is going to be, what course that we want to take. If we view America as a country, as the president does, and he's given speeches on this recently in Kansas, talking about how free enterprise is broken, doesn't work, and that we need the heavier hand of government because free enterprise has led to greed and unfairness and inequity, and too many people being left behind. The president, when he ran for the United States Senate, said one of the things he wanted to do is, as a constitutional law professor, he thought one of the problems in the Constitution was there was no provision for the redistribution of wealth. That's the president. In responding to Paul Ryan's budget a year ago, Paul, as you see, and just as he did in this budget, reduced a whole bunch of entitlement programs, sent them under the 10th Amendment back to the states, did what was necessary to do under our Constitution and under our fiscal situation. And President Obama got up right in front of Congressman Ryan and listed all of these programs and said, America's a better country because of these programs, he said. And then he said, I'll go one step further. America was not a great country until these programs. So in the president's eyes, America became a great country when government started to take your money and redistribute it to the people that they thought deserved it more than you did who earned it. The debate is about the past, and what Reagan did and what I've done in this campaign is I traveled all across the state of Iowa at 1%. No one paid much attention except the folks that came by. But people did come, because that's their job in Iowa. They got to show up. It's sort of rite of passage. You got to show up when presidential candidates come to town. And there's a whole slew of them. But they came, and they left with signs, and they left saying, that's a vision that I can buy into. It's a vision that is firmly implanted on the concept that we need to return to our founding principles and believe that what worked in America can and must work again if we're going to be a great and free country. That's what conservatism is. The stewardship of a great inheritance. Understanding what worked and why it worked in America. And that's what I've been talking about, our founding documents. The United States Constitution, which is for a long time in Washington, D.C., been a dead letter, but you saw it on display just this past week. How heartening was it? How heartening was it to see those Supreme Court justices talk about limits of federal power? Talk about how Obamacare would fundamentally change the relationship between the people and their government. because indeed it would. Our founding documents talk about we, the people, the consent of the governed, from our Constitution and our Declaration. Limited government, but government that the power rested in the people, and that the government was there to protect those rights that were given to us or recognized under our Declaration of Independence that come from a creator, not from a court, not from a president. But we are a great country, we are a unique country in the history of the world because we understand where our rights come from. And that the government's role is not to create new rights. Because when the government gives you rights, as we have seen with Obamacare, they can tell you how to exercise those rights or threaten to take them if you don't do what you are told. That is a government that no longer is serving people. That is a government that now people become subjects to the crown, to the new crown of the bureaucracy in Washington. If you want to know what's at stake in this election, that is what's at stake. I know we have a lot of folks that talk about the economy, and I do. The economy is important. It's obviously important what the growth rate is, the unemployment rate, the size and scale of the budget deficit. These are all huge issues, but they are driven by government's huge expansion, huge dictatorial presence within our economy and within our lives, and the changing, as Justice Kennedy said, the swing vote. A fundamental realignment, a fundamental change in the relationship between you and your government. That is what's at stake. That's what I've been talking about. People say, well, how are you doing it? How do you win 11 states and get outspent collectively 10-1? Win 11 states. That's as many as Ronald Reagan won in 1976 when the last conservative insurgent tried to take on the establishment candidate. How do you do it? You touch the chords that Reagan touched. Not because they're Reagan's. It's because they're ours. They're America. America isn't a country that you can claim an ethnic origin. Oh, there are some Native Americans that do, but that's not the bulk of us. We're here at the Italian Club. My grandfather and father came to this country from Italy. I'm proud to be an Italian American. I'm Italian by ethnicity, but I'm American by something different. It's not an ethnic group. It's not a race. But in a sense, it's a creed. It's the creed of America. It goes back to those founding principles by which we have to hold dear, because those founding principles transformed the world. At the time of our Declaration, when we said we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. At that moment, life expectancy in the world was 35, just as it had been for 2,000 years. We were an agrarian society as the world had been for 2,000 years. Of emperors, kings, and dictators controlling the lives of people. Oh, of course, always for the benefit. Benevolent as they were, always for the benefit of their subjects. That's what the government always tells you. But the world did not change until America came along. Life expectancy has doubled. We've gone from an agrarian to an industrial to a technology economy. The richest people in America today, the poorest people in America today, would be considered rich by creature comfort standards of even people who were wealthy 50 years ago. It's the dynamism of America. It's who we are. We should never have a president of the United States who looks at that dynamism, who looks at that freedom, who looks at what we have been, that shining city on the hill, not just for those here, but for all people all over the world. We've inspired greatness, liberty, all over the globe. And we have a president who goes around that globe and apologizes for America. Never under our administration. Never will we apologize for this great country. election, we need to have a bold contrast. I know you hear all the time, well, we just got to win. We got to elect someone who can get some votes from people that might vote our way if they're more moderate. Oh, the siren song. It's played over and over again. Just elect a moderate and everything will be fine. I'm sure you heard that in Wisconsin, but you didn't do that. You nominated a conservative for governor, lieutenant governor, and secretary. Americans are not looking for lukewarm right now. They're looking for bold, contrasting colors. They're looking for someone at a difficult time in American history who isn't going to manage Washington, but is going to transform it with a passion, with a zeal that can motivate and lift up the American people. How did Reagan succeed? Because he was able to communicate to the American public the urgency of the matters at hand and lift us up, call us to do more. That's what's at stake in this election. That's why Wisconsin is so important. You have led, Charlie was right, you have led over the past year in standing up and fighting the entrenched bureaucracy, the hard left, big government America. And you have stood tall, you've been battered, you've been beaten by almost, I want to say billions, it probably feels like billions of dollars flowing into this state. But you have stood tall, and you have fought, and you continue to fight. And you will be when Governor Walker and Lieutenant Governor Clayfish are re-elected in 2000. Wisconsin also has another opportunity to speak, and it's in 3 days. You have an opportunity to speak to this country. That you're looking for someone to accomplish what has only been accomplished once in over 120 years in American history. And that is for a Republican to defeat a Democratic incumbent president. It doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen very much at all in the modern political era. Only one time did Republicans have the courage to stand and fight the establishment, fight all the wise people in Washington and in the media who tell you not to vote your conscience, not to vote your principles, but to compromise them in order to win. How many of you stand here today having thought poorly of your House members or senators or congressmen or elected officials? Because while they say they're people of principle, when they go down to Washington or to Madison, they don't quite live up to them. They always seem to compromise away in order to win, to pass something, to get something done. You look at them askance for having not stood up for the values they believe in. And so now I put the mirror back on you. Now it's your opportunity to vote. Are you going to do what you criticize them doing, which is to compromise your principles in order to win? Or do you believe enough in your principles? Do you believe enough that what you believe in, what you know is right for this country, is not just right for this country, but it's a winning message. It's a message that will pull us together, just like you've done here in Wisconsin. And so I ask the people here in this room, each and every one of you, for your support. I ask you to shake this race up and let the people across this country know that Wisconsin stands, not just with your governor, your lieutenant governor, but you stand for the principles that they stand for, not just here in this state, but for the same kind of scale of change that we need in Washington, D.C. That's why I ask for your vote. I ask you to walk out of here and not just vote for us, but over the next 3 days, shake this place up. Get us votes. Have them come out on Tuesday. And Wisconsin will again lead this country. Thank you and God bless you.